Oh, and with Vivian online, she can't hear us unless we speak into the mic. So we're going to start with the roll call. I am here.
Pete Wildebohr,
I'm present.
Josie Barnhart,
Here.
Kim Clark,
Here.
Paul Slavic, Hannah Moon, Philip Sutton, Charlene Thompson,
Here.
Jared Worthington,
Here.
Stephanie Walker, Rob Zappel,
Here.
Eric Cradle,
Here.
Amanda Kuziak,
Here.
Lisa Wurzbacher.
Okay. We have Pledge of Allegiance and invocation next. Mr. Wildebohr is going to do the pledge, and Mr. Worthington is going to do the invocation.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to come together as we continue to serve our community. We thank you for each and every person that is here with good intent and passion to see things happen that lead to success for our students. And we pray that we put our students first in every decision that we make. God, help the conversation here to be beneficial to all within the community and in Wilmington and Greater New Hanover County. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Next is approval of the agenda. You should have gotten that by email. We are saving trees and didn't print it. So if I could, from voting members, if I could get a motion to approve the agenda in a second. All right. We have a motion to approve in a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed say no.
Madam Chair, are there any printed copies of the agenda?
No, I didn't print any because it was so long.
The Isaac Bear update was
sent me 3
emailed to you, and I'm pretty sure my 3 copies are still on the seat of my car. So if anyone wants a printed copy of the Isaac Bear report, there you go. Oh, is that the agenda, Brian? Okay. But if anyone wants a copy of the report from several years back on Isaac Bear, I have copies in the car. I just didn't bring them in. You're welcome. So we've approved the agenda. All right, same with the minutes. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes?
Second.
So we, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye. All opposed? So that's going to segue us into the Isaac Bear Committee update. And I will tell you, I don't believe the committee has actually met yet, but there have been a lot of phone calls and a lot of conversations. So we're going to lead off with Dr. Morgan to tell us where he is on that.
Thank you. Yes, so Ms. Bradford's right. We have not met. I've sent a couple of emails to those who were identified to be a part of that ad hoc committee. Excuse me. One of the reasons that we haven't met is I was trying to identify the best person to communicate with at UNCW so that we could have somebody who could actually speak on behalf of UNCW and possibly make decisions on behalf of UNCW as part of our conversation. And the reason I think that was important is because after talking with Mr. Valines and a few others at UNCW, we've really got a lot of what we need to be able to move forward with discussing a new building at on UNCW's campus for Isaac Bear. We've got schematic designs. We've got quotes. Those quotes are a little dated at this point. So, you would add a little bit to the numbers there for inflation. But essentially, we've got everything we need to be able to begin moving forward, except for funding and identifying a funding source. And so we kind of put a pin in that just so that we could get in front of some additional UNCW people to make sure that that thinking is correct. So, for example, I've spoken to Mark Morgan, who's Associate Vice Chancellor for Facilities, about where we left off. And, he and I have talked about the possibility of getting together in the weeks ahead so that we can learn a little bit more about not just that project and where it left off, but other things that maybe going on that, could potentially overlap. So as far as reconnecting, Dr. Barnes and I met with Dean Linderholm at Watson a few weeks ago, and this was one of several topics that we talked about. And so, again, it sounds like a lot of the conversation kind of just came to a halt when we got to the point of, okay, this plan looks great, how are we going to fund it? And so included in the agenda is the advanced planning document. It's very long. So I talked to Ashley and Jenny about, I don't know if you necessarily want to print it, but I think it'd be worth including so that when I say we've really got a lot to work with, you can see exactly how much it is. I'm sorry, Mr. Zappel, I don't have a printed copy for you, but be happy to show you.
And I have one in the car that I can get. I just mistakenly left it in the car. And if I remember correctly, in that report, it's something like $32 to $40 million. Am I right? My memory correct?
Yes, that was that quote from, and that report was, I think that was presented in July of 2023.
Okay. Dr. Barnes, did you have anything to contribute to that?
Yep. Always. One of the other things we are talking about is whether or not there's a way to maximize sharing of space at UNCW as well, to sort of widen our footprint a little bit, because sometimes classes get scheduled at all kinds of different times. Is there a way that we could utilize space sharing that space? So that's one of the other things we're talking about.
And I will just make a personal comment. Don't know if this is well-grounded or not, but I wanted to stay out of that committee, but I haven't completely. One of my initial thoughts is that perhaps it all broke down over what I call big eyes. They couldn't agree on how much good stuff to throw in there. And so it just sort of failed to go forward because, well, the conflict between who owns, the land and the building conflict there, and then just that huge expense. So my goal for today, as we're going to move into budget, my goal for today is to talk right about finance. The finance that we have to look forward to, where we are today, where we go next. And then our very next meeting is going to be totally on bond. The one at the end of August is going to be totally on bond because I want to say it's 27th? Yeah.
27th at 12:30.
Yeah, you already have your invite. It went out a couple weeks ago, or at least a week ago. But I want to focus totally on that because if I understand it correctly, by October, we're supposed to know what we're going to ask. So we have to get everything off our plate right now. Talk about budget. Dr. Barnes has a bunch to share. That's a really fluid topic right now. It's constantly moving, and so we'll talk about that. And I had asked him, and he hadn't answered me, but we had a listening tour meeting in here. It was supposed to be for teachers, and there were maybe 8 or 10. And so they joined the parents who had all come. There were 8 or 10 of them here already for that meeting. Before it was over, it was 60, 70 people. And he asked specific questions, and they answered them. And I thought it might be fun to literally go around to all people seated and Livian and say and answer his questions so that you'll understand where the people who attended, what they thought our biggest need was. And my impression is, we've got this financial situation over here that we have to solve, but we also have to look at, we did that meeting before last where we as a team identified what we thought our capital needs were for a bond. We've got that part. So the next thing is going to be the logistics of it. I lean heavily on the two of you for that. I know Eric's going to have a presentation this week or next with his board, and then we'll get that information. And we're going to have to really drill down hard at this next meeting on bond. So we come up with some kind of draft idea that we can then, the staff can put it into a real draft, and then we're there, y'all. We're there. So with that said, Dr. Barnes?
Do you want me to start with sort of an update from what we talked about Tuesday, or do you want me to do this first?
Well, it's up to you.
We can do this first. So I will tell you that a year ago, I felt like I was swimming with a cinder block, and then somebody handed me a baby. I had a listening tour last year, specifically at the heels of a climate survey that we received. We had to talk about what wasn't working and what we needed to do. So we spent a year doing that. So my conversation with the folks who came last week was, okay, where do we go now? We build a foundation, let's build a house, right? So I asked them several questions about where do they want to see the district to be a year from now? And it sort of spun into a lot of conversation about budget, of course, because that is to some extent where we are with the tail wagging the dog. But the first thing I said is, okay, what do you think is the thing you don't have? What is the thing that you need? And what is the place you want the district to be a year from now? Because I've been working with the board to develop my goals for the district and for myself for the upcoming year. So I did ask the board for the latitude to have 3 goals that I narrowed down on, and then 1 extra goal that is chosen by the stakeholders of this district, if they didn't hit one of the 3 already. And I'm pretty sure these 3 are fairly broad strokes that I think you're going to find that everything we do is going to wind up in them anyway. But just because this group has been working together for the better part of a year as well, if we're sitting here a year from now in August, what do we want that we don't have now? What do we want to do differently than we're doing now? And I think that's where we kind of started the other week, and then we went from there.
So why don't we do this? And I mean, I could go either direction, and both of these are going to be experts. So I'm going to give Eric the last say, or Dr. Barnes the last say, and start with, well, I guess start. No, because you're one. I mean, where do you want the district to be a year from now? Okay, but nobody else can skip. Go ahead. No. August 2026, what do you want?
I'm the treasurer at Ashland High School, so they normally come to meetings for me to make sure we have the money. So Ms. Perez is bad about saying yes to everything without checking me first. So, that's kind of a hard question to do. And there's always lots of meetings, staff is one of them. So yeah, stipends for coaches, well, more so for the coaches that have been there for a while. They're wondering why they get the same stipend as a beginner coach, so they're wondering if there can be a step stipend based on years of service.
Okay.
That's kind of the classroom. I try to get anything that they need, extra markers, paper, stuff like that, even if it's their favorite pen. I'll get you your favorite pen and make you happy,
People do have favorite pens. I can't believe that.
Yes, we do. Says the pen thief. Mr.
And
Whitten.
and this doesn't have,
And
you
it-
don't have to keep this in an financial space either. This is sort of a wide ranger. I don't expect you guys to only put this in financial.
So repeat the question.
If you're here a year from now, what do you want to say this district is different about or better about doing?
Improve test scores, increase graduation rate, reduce dropout rate. And,
That's goal 1, you already got it.
yeah, well, and I don't know what it is, but in the last 3 weeks, I've had a dozen conversations unprompted by me. People say our high schools need to go back to having a trades program. It's completely unprompted. And it might be because I mentioned my kid is now an electrician, and he's a couple of weeks away from receiving full benefits. And he's leading the team, and the kid had no experience. And so maybe that's what triggered somebody else saying they need to put the trades back in high school. So, when I was at Laney, we had carpentry, and Hanover had auto mechanics.
Right.
And I was at a table 2 nights ago, and the guy said, well, I went to Higher, we didn't have anything. So,
Which just isn't true, but okay.
well, this was back in 1989.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Sure.
But it's some of this is how do we package and how do we disseminate information like that? Because we have trades programs at every one of our schools. We have kids going through amazing programs. How do we highlight those enough that that becomes the narrative, right? Good.
All right, Chris.
Well, it's something fairly specific, but I know we've got a school bond on the docket. So, having clarity around that school bond and having effective messaging for the public, because I think people can see the growth in this area, but you have to put it in plain speak to people, what your plans are, what your goals are, and I think that can be done, and I hope that we're able to do that effectively, because that's going to have a big impact on the confidence that people have that we're doing the right things.
And the nuances behind what can I say about the bond, what I can't say about the bond. There's a lot of rules about I can't promote the bond myself, or I can't financially invest and promote. It's very nuanced. But now, you hit goal number 1 and you hit goal number 3. You think you can take goal number 2 home? Like, you literally named the 2 of the 3 goals I have.
Okay, Paul, here we go.
All right, so we are in a place now where we are the best option. Number 1, hands down, public education is where you need to send your children. We are competing with, and I don't think that's going to stop, we are going to compete with other counties, with other schools, other options for parents, so we need a clear plan. We have aging schools, we have staffing concerns, all the things I think that people are mentioning right here, but a more robust and a clearer plan moving forward of where New Hanover is going to stand and how we are going to continue to be the best option for our parents moving forward.
You did it, that's goal 2. That's awesome.
Rest of you can go home. No,
Yeah.
no.
Rob already knows these goals. Rob already knows these too, so.
Do not pander to the boss here, Rob. Tell us what your want is.
What are we talking about?
So I think from my perspective, we've got 2 things. One, there's an ongoing concern about aging infrastructure, and that's likely to continue just because of the size of our school system and the age of some of the buildings. But then I think from a staffing perspective, we've got quite a few positions that are hard to fill because our entry-level pay doesn't really rise to the level that they can get in the private industry. So things like mechanics. We've also obviously continued to have a shortage of bus drivers. I know that is not specific to us, but I think it often boils down to what does the entry-level pay look like for those positions that are looking to join us.
Ryan, would you like to comment? You have kids in the system?
I think we need to offer pre-K for every family that wants it. And, our loss of the Head Start grant, and it was terrible. And I'd like to see us, at some point, maybe within the next year, who knows how long, be able to offer every family with a 3 to 5-year-old the ability to go to school, because I think that's the most important time frame for education for our children.
It's funny that you mentioned that. Chair Mason sent out a revised committee assignment list last night, and it reminded me that I am the liaison for Head Start, and I've done nothing with it, but I think I'm gonna put my attention towards that. I know we've got a long uphill battle to get that back, but I don't mind challenges. But I agree with you on that one. But I had forgotten that I was that committee person.
Am I allowed to offer an afterthought?
Yeah, of course. I'm not in charge.
I wanted to say also, to piggyback on Mr. Hennett was saying, I think part of those hard to fill positions we're talking about are also trades positions.
Oh, yeah, for sure they are. For sure they are. Can I spin yours just a shade, Brian? No, your buddy next door. I think pre-K expansion, while making pre-K a financially viable entity on its own, if that makes sense. Like, we need to find a way to do both. We want to expand pre-K, but we have to way to expand it in a way that's financially solvent on its own.
Cool. All right, Mr. Worthington, you're up.
Oh, I just got here, but I guess we're having a pre-K discussion.
We're actually going around the table and everyone's saying where they want to be August 26th. So we'll come back to you and we're going to pick up Livia.
Remind me again what August.
August 2026.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And Ms. Mason's joined us and she's an ex officio member, so we'll pick her up last. So Mr.
Cheerio.
Worthington, you're up.
Cheerio. I look at our current system right now and know that we've got schools and principals that are just maxing out in effort and maxing out in reaching and accomplishing the goals that they want. But we also have principals as a group with big dreams and small windows and small alleyways to reach that. And in order to get to some of the big dreams that they have for their individual schools, we have to figure out a way to increase allotments, increase staffing, increase budget flexibility for those schools. When we talk about trade opportunities, we talk about specialty programs. My granddad taught industrial arts for 40 years. Would know nothing about carpentry if it hadn't been for him and my dad. And I think about all of the opportunities we have at high school levels, and those opportunities can continue to increase. I'd love to see that at middle school. I'd love to see opportunities grow at elementary schools. We have schools that want to have an identity as something that they can be. The Freeman School of Engineering. Imagine if they had more flexibility in their spending, what could they do at that school, or the School of the Arts at Snipes? So creating opportunities is what I'm really hoping that we get a chance to do here within this group over the next year. I just want to see, when I go in to sit down and talk to a principal, and they say, man, I really want to do this at my school, if only we had this. And so my goal is, let's get them that thing that they want.
Thank you. So I have two. One is that we have a targeted effort to ensure that students who've been through successful qualified pre-K programs don't lose everything that they've received by the time they reach third grade. And the second is that we would have a communications and or education campaign / product that would ensure the community is an advocate for our school district.
That comes with some money that's going to need to be spent to create that in some, especially those high schools. But that also, to create safe environments and positive environments, is more than just buildings and security. It's more staffing, because if you're going to be able to know your kids and your students and what their goals are and what's going on with them, you got to have more people and create those relationships. So those are the things I think we need.
I think on my wish list is kind of listed a number. First off, and I'm just delighted to hear from the other members of this committee, in my mind, is stabilizing the pre-K funding. And I would include that from 0 to 4. Early childhood education starts at birth. And with a clear path forward to a universal pre-K, that being the goal. So I hope within a year that we can come up with that plan. We cannot have the same situation that we started this year, and I thank you, Dr. Barnes, for doing some major scrambling. That's ridiculous. I think everybody here recognizes the importance of pre-K and the benefits. Also, which was just addressed by Dr. Sutton, an open, excuse me.
Not yet.
Sorry, excuse me. Principal Sutton. Yeah. An open and fully functioning New Hanover High School, which I know were there. I happened to drive by 2 days ago, saw the scaffolding down. If you haven't gone by it, I would recommend. It looks spectacular. I mean, the highlights, the brickwork, the masonry work, it just made me suddenly feel proud, and not just being an elected official, but being here in New Hanover County. I said, oh, that's what they must have felt like 103 years ago. It really looks great.
Thank you for the funding.
Yeah, oh, yeah, well, that's why we're here as partners. Also, a clearly identified communications, marketing, promotion organization for the proposed bond. All the work we're doing here will go nowhere unless we can find that organization that will put the, shoulder to the wheel, or whatever metaphor you want to put in there, to get it out. We've seen what's happened, especially with the transportation bond of a couple of years ago. When you don't have it clearly identified and out there in the community, it will not work. We can have the best ideas, and we can create a bubble here, and we'll all agree with each other. But there's 238,000 people out there in New Hanover County who don't know what we know. That's got to be a major focus for us, and has to happen well within that 1 year period. Also, an agreed upon plan for capital improvements, which also I know figures into the bond. I mean, we've seen all the options. We've gone through them. We got to do the hard work. I'm sorry, I'm stepping out of my lane. This is up to the school board. What are your priorities? We know what all the options are. I think they're laid there. But it's time to cut bait or whatever. We need to know what that plan, what are the priorities? Where do we want to focus this bond? And the last one is an expansion of the dual enrollment program with Cape Fear Community College, which I think is absolutely fabulous. We have this wonderful resource here in New Hanover County, and I think would somewhat address some of the issues, John, that you were talking about. We have, fully functioning trade classes, especially up in the North Campus. We're just expanding that program and making use of what we already have here. And those students who have identified and want to go that direction, let's do it. I think it's good. I know there's some issues as far as the enrollment process there. I just happen to have the personal experience of walking through it with my grandson, which ended up in a panic run down to the Cape Fear Community College, getting just a miserable piece of communication from CFCC saying that all their classes would be dropped if they did not pay by 5 p.m. and given, less than 12-hour notice. I mean, I know that has nothing on you. That's CFCC that's doing it. But my gosh, it's such a great program. Can we not get some clear communication? It all worked out, by the way, but it just was a kind of a useful reminder to kind of go walk through it. And while I was there was a full line of other people who had gotten the same call and were in mild panic. Trying to this topic. Yes, you're right, Pat. And that was the end. Yes, it is.
I could talk for a long time too, but I'm going to try not to. So, Mr. Zappel, you can nudge me. But I think the biggest thing for me is focusing on continuing that, closing that gap. We only have 6 failing schools, and I know that's going to slowly continue to decline, and to see the number of schools that are meeting or exceeding growth. And I think 2 big things that come to mind when you talk about how to do that is creating those opportunities and maintaining the staff. And I've said it time and time again, I'm really pleased to see our turnover rate lower than where the state's at. And so how can we continue to do those things? How can we ensure that stability not only for our staff but for our students too, because when they see that consistent face, that's how collective efficacy is built and things like that, so that we can focus on closing the gap.
And of the Big 12 districts in the state, we were number 2 in retention out of the Big 12, and we missed being number 1 by less than a percentage point. Huh? Wake. Sorry.
Well
Thank you.
expressed, ma'am, well expressed.
Yeah, I'm going to say retention. I agree with everything everybody else says. I'm a big fan of early intervention. My background is in special ed, and I know the power of early intervention, and I'm a huge believer in that. And just to also piggyback on Dr. Morgan, the other not comparable salaries, I would say with classifieds, are our data managers and our treasurers. They are impossible to find, impossible to keep, because the pay is not what they are asked to do. So I know teachers are, yes, we talk teachers, but when you look at TAs and you look at treasurers, and if you really looked at the amount of turnover, when it comes to treasurers and data managers, and the amount of work that they're putting forth right now is, I don't believe that the paycheck matches what the effort that they put in and how crucial they are to the success of a school building.
Can I hear Ms. Barnhart short? Wait a minute, I gotta point that out. Pretty good, Ms. Barnhart. Because I'm not gonna be short.
You're the expert on short.
Oh, that's good, I like that. We'll talk later, we'll talk later. I just want to agree, number one, with pre-K. I mean, I think that pre-K, we need to have more, not less. Number two, what I heard from the town hall was very, very clear that we need more folks. We need more folks in the classroom, we need more teacher assistants, we need more nurses. I mean, we're losing a whole bunch of nurses. I mean, we actually had somebody at our regular meeting kind of call me out that, well, you agreed with the budget. Well, I sure didn't agree with losing pre-K or nurses. I will say that. I've said that on repeatedly. We need, I was a principal of a school that had a nurse half the time, so we told kids, sorry, you can't get hurt or sick on these days because we have nobody here. I was also at Trask when Trask didn't have a full-time nurse back in the day, 100 years ago. We rode our horses in on those days. But I was, the one that, I had to leave my kids to go run because we had a diabetic young lady that would go into diabetic situations, and I was the one that had to go, and somebody else had to cover my class. We ended up with, 75 kids or 80 kids with one teacher because I was running down the hallway. So there's no easy way to get around that. We need nurses in each and every school. You got to get that. And and the third thing, which leads to answer those two other questions, is I think we need to go back to a close relationship with our county commissioners. I mean, without a doubt. I know that, our leadership met with them and that kind of thing. We used to have times that we all met, everybody on the board, met with everybody on their board and got to talk and have breakfast and all that kind of stuff, and breakfast didn't have to be part of it, but I think we need to get back to those meetings so, as soon as we can, so that we can have everybody on both boards can fully understand what's going on and what we need. And I know that's just more meetings and that kind of thing, but I think it needs to be all of us, because all of us have to make decisions. So that's what I think.
You don't get off the hook, ma'am.
If I could see anything happen by August 2026, I think this is pie in the sky, but I'd like to see updated funding formulas. Updated funding formulas.
And that would be local, state, and federal?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. I have that right there. Thank you.
I think, assuming that we move forward with the GO bond, it would just be having a fiscally responsible bond along with good community support.
Thank you. Do you want to say yours?
So now that you guys know, the three things that I committed to focusing on, one is the only places where we did not grow in our initial testing results. It's reading in third grade, math 1. There are 12 or 14, I think, areas that get evaluated or get measured. We grew on 12 of the 14. I'm feeling pretty good about that. And the work that our teachers have done in regards to retention and maintaining staff. I've been here it's my 4th year. It'll be the end of 4th year in October. We only replaced 3 principals this summer. Every other year has been 7 or 8. The year before I got here was 15. So retention starts by making sure people know that they're valued. And so it's a great testament to the work that's being done. So my 3 goals, 1 was academic, I mentioned that. Second one is culture and community, making sure that we are focusing on listening, making sure that we are being transparent and communicative with our stakeholders and our staff. And then the third one is continue to lead this district in a financially, fiscally responsible way with an eye towards 1, increasing enrollment, and 2, levering a bond. So those are the 3 things that we need to be here a year from now. Sir.
Just a clarification on the 3 principals replaced. 2 were because of retirement and 1 was for a promotion. great reasons to have to find folks. And I say that with
Thank
two
you.
baskets of chocolate sitting right beside me here. Philip. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm gonna get the last three of you in the order that you came in. So, Livian, are you on? Can you contribute?
Yeah, I'm here. Interesting listening to everybody, having a son that's been out of school for 8 years. My focus, I was on the 2014 bond committee and felt like we didn't ask for enough then. I know the constraints, that's a different topic, but I've seen the numbers of needs, and a lot of the needs are the wants. Y'all go, the education side of it is not in my thoughts right now. It's more about funding and the priorities of the school system, because what was priorities in 2014 are still priorities now. So I think it's great that New Hanover, they need something, whether it's rebuilt, renovated. But there's still a lot of other schools out there that had the needs, 12 years ago. Back to what Natalie said, and I think Rob touched on this, is with us needing to have an answer in October about the bonds and priorities, the PR side of it is very important to get ahead of it. And I don't know that we have to hire a firm. I think if you put some folks that are on this committee together, we can strategize with that. But that's something that really has to be thought out. Y'all know I do a lot of development projects, and I hear one of the main things I hear now is people concerned about their kids and overcrowding, etc. So when it comes down to that vote, those are a lot of people that are going to show up to vote. And I know there's other needs, and I appreciate everybody that's on the committee. They're paying attention to those other needs. My main thing is thinking about the bond and the funding sources, research. I'm sure y'all have done research about other funding sources. We're meeting on the Isaac Bear project with the Vice Chancellor next week. So those are my 2 cents, and I appreciate you listening. And I'm sorry I'm not there.
Mr. Walker, if you're up. Give me time to really think about this. This is on again. I would say first and foremost that we're all on the same page about how important our public schools are. As a former school member now, in the, a lot of our budget dollars in the county do go to schools. I really think I'm challenged with the kind of thoughts of how important, how integral our schools are to our economy, to our growth, to everything in between. So I would like for us to all, and to Pete's point, get together more and talk about it, because I find the barrier a lot of the times is the communication side of it. And if we can all get on the same page. I think Dr. Barnes, you've done a fantastic job this year with you're starting early with the budget, getting prior, well, all of you, okay. And Ashley, of course, Ashley.
I just do what Ashley tells me.
I know, well, Ashley then. But I'll just say it is very helpful. Like I said, I sat in a city council meeting the other night, and the disconnect with communications and understanding of what everybody's doing, I think meeting more would help with that tremendously. But just understanding the value of our public schools, because they're their heart and soul. There's, I don't know what the number is this year, 25,000+ kids. You multiply the parents by that. There's a lot of people that are invested in what we do here in the county, and I just think being on the same page in the value is important. Number two, definitely the pre-K. That is huge, and I've been hearing some good things. I'm bringing the E word up, endowment up, that they're working on the pre-K realm side of that. I know that the former Turnaround Task Force Elevate Every Child Committee, which I know Melissa comes to, Pete sometimes gets to come to, and we're welcome to anytime, are working, there's a whole eco group that are working on that. They've had consultants that look at it. There's so many working parts to that conversation. It comes to the quality and the capacity and everything. So it's a big, big issue. Rob's been on this for a very long time. I was very heartbroken that the 6 classrooms were cut. I was heartbroken when the Head Start grant was lost, but I was extra, obviously, heartbroken this time, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm still upset about it, I'm not going to lie. So we need to fix that, because I think the earlier we start with our kids, the better. To your point on, intervention and early intervention, the earlier the better, I say. And I think we can do that, you know. I mean, I'm not going to lean just on it down. I'm looking at Natalie over here. We've got folks out there in the community. They're very generous and very caring and want to look at this issue. So I think we all need to work together. You know, I've been on a couple inner city visits now, and that seems to be the theme that comes out of it. Like, how do we collaborate together a lot better? Third thing, obviously, is New Hanover High School. Y'all know how I feel about it. But I agree, Rob. It's beautiful. The front looks best I've ever seen the front look, at least, even when I went to school there. But those kids deserve the school, and the staff deserve a school that they can be proud of, that matches the pride that school has. And, you know, and I say that goes back to alumni going back, I don't know how many years, that do care so much about the school. But that leads to the bond discussion. There, right now, with the bond cap we have, there's no way, with the needs that are out there, that we can fix all of it with just a bond. So we got to be creative and smart and figure this out. And I like the fact that I've seen, I use the E word again, go a little bit into the kind of capital side stuff of that. I hope that continues, because I just don't, the county can't do it. The voters, even if they want to, we can't do all of it. And I'll lead into Isaac Bear again, because Livian just said it, you know, they've been in trailers for how many years now? They're like, and it's going on almost 20 years. That's not, that school does a tremendous job. I mean, if anybody has not had a, that's crazy. If anybody's ever had a tour, and if you haven't, you know, call up Principal Valines and go in there, y'all would be horrified. I mean, honestly, I mean, I think the custodial unit, they kind of share the snack room. I don't know. It's just, it's a lot, y'all, and they need attention, and I hope this committee, we can work towards that. I know that was kind of a fourth, but yeah.
Our next meeting is going to be totally focused on bond. That's all we're going to talk about.
It's got to, right?
Come prepared.
Yeah, because did we talk about October? But I felt like our county manager said that would be for the primary election. But does it have to be on the primary bond, Eric? Do you
It
know?
has to be on the 2026 election.
Right, but that's November.
Oh, right.
So I didn't know, because we have a deadline of October, but I felt like Chris was...
We had suggested October 31st of this year to come up with sort of the project scope, and then over the next 3 months to develop those costs.
Okay.
But the January 31st is sort of the really harder deadlines. If we push
okay.
back the October 31st date for the project costs, we can do that. It just shortens the amount of time that we'd have to hone in on what the cost of it would be.
Okay. My goal would be that we come up with a draft of the scope among ourselves this next meeting before we go home. We have that, and then let the staff work their magic and with the county, and then by our October meeting, our September meeting, late September meeting, we have something we can look at and really, really go to town with. So that's the goals. I know they're lofty, but I'm in a panic over that deadline right now, personally. Okay, Chair Mason.
So my goals come from 3 different areas. One is what I've heard from staff, one is what I've seen in the schools, and one is just what I want. So I'll start with a couple people have mentioned the town hall that we had. And one of the things that really stood out to me was the EC teacher who told us he has no prep time. They need more bodies. They need more bodies. And because my heart's with EC, that's where I'm like, let's give them as many as we can possibly do. So ideally, I'd love to see our EC program be top-notch and have everybody that they need and have our teachers, because it is, though an amazing and rewarding job, it is still very taxing emotionally sometimes. And so making sure that we don't lose anybody. That's another way that we can retain our people, is to not burn them out. And we can do that by giving them some more support that way.
Can I attach some numbers to that?
You surely can, sir.
So, back when we had ESSER funding, okay, we ran at about 215 special education teacher assistants. And even then, we didn't feel like that was enough. Last year, we got down to, we could afford 150. We know that wasn't going to work. So then the first thing we did was assign all of the allotment of 3rd grade regular ed teacher assistants over to EC. I think that got them 20 more. Then in October, when we were able to put some money out, when we scrimped and we saved, we were able to put that towards TA, so we got up to about 195. This year, currently, we're at 186. But it's a good example of what's the best for the kids in the building. Student with autism does better in a regular education setting because primarily they are going to learn new behaviors. However, sometimes you need someone to go with that kid to shepherd him through that process. If we don't have those people, that really limits that child's ability to be in that other regular ed classroom. So things like that, where we find ourselves scrimping and saving and sort of, we may have cut to a place where we're not maximizing what the kid's ability is. Thank you.
And we don't want to rub Peter to pay Paul because those gen ed teachers, they need the staff as well because there's going to be behavior and you're going to be behavior issues and then you're going to have some of those DC kids that are not necessarily in a self-contained class, I'm glad you brought that are not in that self-contained class that need additional support too. So
put a pin in that for a second. I would remind you, we had that school specialist report early in the year, and remember I emphasized to all of you, particularly Commissioner Zappel, that at the back of it, it talked about the drastic situation we were in with our EC staffing, that everyone was working flat out, maxed out, and I'm going to put my words to his report, we're going to hit burnout and start to fail in our ability to serve kids if we didn't immediately deal with that. So we got that in the first part of the year. So here we are lingering. Just don't overlook that. It's, for us as board members, it's a constant concern.
And kind of along those lines, I move into my own experience within the schools. So if you don't know, I go and I volunteer with a deaf classroom. My background is in deaf education. I was a speech therapist for 13 years. And so when I talk to those people, like, they're my people. And so talking to some of them, there's concern for me, especially when we look at the fact that we sometimes have to hire agencies to cover some of the speech, the PT, the OT, and the interpreters that we have in our schools. That's expensive. So I would really love to, and I know that I've started having conversations with some of the senior staff about how do we retain those positions so we're not spending more on them through an agency. And so I'd really love to be able to cut those costs and make sure that we can have our own in-house interpreter, speech, PT, and OT, because we need to save the money. We need to be able to, but also it gives what I've learned from talking to some of these individuals. If they're hired from an agency, sometimes it's I go in, I do my job, I come out. But if they are in-house, they are in that community. They are invested. They know the families. It's a much better. Dr. Burns this morning when we were at a training was talking about it's about relationship. And when you have somebody that's in-house, there's a relationship. When you have somebody that's from an agency, there may be a relationship, but it's not going to be the same because they're in several different places. So really figuring out how can we retain that and save money that way. And the last one is just a me thing, and it kind of goes along with what Mr. Zappel had said, with the expansion of the program, but also with language. I love pipe dream to have an ASL consistent as another language for our kids to be able to take. We do have about 50 kids in our district, and it would help them feel more involved in and valued in our community. And so just providing that for our students and giving them the opportunity for another avenue that they can take. There is an interpreting program at Cape Fear Community College. If they don't take American Sign Language, and so we can kind of work through that in there. That's just my selfish, what I would like to have.
Okay. And I would not disagree with any of these. I would agree with everything that we've heard. And it's awesome to me that, what we didn't do was look back and say, how are we different from we were August of last year? And I think as a district, we're radically different than we were last year. We have improved communication. We have improved test scores. We have an improved relationship with the county commissioners. We technically have an improved relationship with the community, although you wouldn't know it on Tuesday night, one week out of every month. We have improved relationship with the staff. So I'm really grateful for all those things, and I would hope all of those things just continue to advance. Everything continue to advance. I think besides the state and the federal and the local funding formulas, my biggest concern, which is what we heard the other night. When you hear people that are desperate for minutes in their day, been there, you're up against a wall. And especially when it's an EC teacher saying, I can't do another thing, I have no planning, and some of them will say they don't have time to go to the restroom. You know, it just, I want another adult in every school, which was, you know, that 42 positions we asked the endowment for. So I would really hope somehow we can fund more adults in schools, because that was my big takeaway from the other night. Among all these other things that we've said is we've just got, and Dr. Barnes is right, you know, 8 kids equals $1 million, so if we bring back more kids.
8 kids equals 1 teacher position.
Oh, excuse me, 8 kids equals $1 million. Wait a minute, that is not right. He's 1 teacher, so if we can come up with 8 times 45, you know, we've got that goal. And we're headed in the right direction, I think. We're definitely not, we're not shedding students as rapidly as we have in the past, but those things are just vital to, if we can become the excellent school district that we know that we can be. We certainly have the staff, we certainly have everything in place to do that, then we will attract more students and this thing will correct itself. And so I guess that's where I want to be in August of 26.
Can I say one exciting thing?
Yes, sir.
Jared, I'm going to apologize first to you, because this is going to come to you, and Kim and Paul and Philip, sorry about this. Robin Hamilton is our Chief Academic Officer. She came up with an idea the other day, which I think is really powerful. She she was the principal at Mason Borough before she shifted into this job, and she found out about a student, a parent she'd known, who brought her kid back from a charter school to public school. And she called that parent. Thank you for choosing public school as your option. It matters to us. You know, can you share with me why you came back? Which led us down the road to, we're going to be asking our supervisors and principals to share with us every student in the district who's returned from a charter school will get a personal phone call to find out why. Because that's the key to build, ma'am? Well, who've returned to our district, who's chosen public school intentionally, to find out why, to appreciate the fact they're there, and see what we can do about bringing more students back. So that's going to be something that's going to be happening over the next month or so as those numbers continue to fluctuate in. But I think one of the things that came out of the town hall last week was a parent saying, people will stay where they feel like their kid is valued. So that's part of that initiative to try to do that. We may find information we already know, we might find out things we don't know, but it'll at least make my heart feel better if I can actually get my thumb on how many students did we bring back, because that's going to help capitalize on what we're doing.
Madam Chair, Natalie.
Oh, sorry, Natalie.
Yeah, so I just want to, because I'm in this space about employees for my members all the time, and we've talked a lot about more people. Thank you. Sorry about that. There aren't more people, y'all. We got to figure out how we solve some of these problems differently. We are at a retirement cliff where we're going to see fewer and fewer bodies available for the jobs that we have. So you're going to be competing with every employer on the face of the earth. And so while we're talking about more support needs, Madam Chair, we've also got to be facing the reality that nobody is going to have enough people. And so what are the creative solutions to address more people needs? And I get that our students, our children are the most important. They are to me. Mine's 21. He's still the most important thing in my life. And it
No,
just
I think
is.
I agree with that to some extent. I will tell you that there are places where we struggle to find enough employees. Bus drivers, CT teachers, EC teachers, math, science, foreign language. We have not reached our saturation point with other positions to that point yet. When we put out 20 ECTA positions, we get 20 people back in. We have not reached that saturation point yet. To the nation, I understand that, but I also want to tell you that 38 of our 45 schools are fully staffed or only have one vacancy. That's incredible. So, yes, sir. I'm not in charge, sorry.
I know.
Sorry.
Most of you know, I used to be a principal in another county, I won't mention what county, but it's amazing to me back in the, thank you, back in the day that, New Hanover County paid better. So I'm like, why is my staff staying here? It's because of the culture of the staff, the school, and it wasn't because of me, it was because of them. But that's the thing is, if we can build a great culture where people want to be and love to go to school and are proud of their school, then people are going to want to stay, even if they don't get quite as much money or they don't get this or that or whatever else. So that's, and I think we're moving in the right direction. And I'm going to point back over you, but I think that it comes from the top and all the folks. But I think it really is it's getting better in New Hanover County, and I think we're moving in the right direction. We just need to keep the the locomotion going in that direction, or the train going in that direction, because I think we are moving in the right direction. Of course, we could use more money, absolutely. I'm not saying that teachers are well paid, because they're not, or principals or anybody else. We could pay folks better, but at the end of the day, I think the money is a big factor, but I think the culture is even a bigger factor.
And we're going to about segue into budget, and he's going to tell us where we are right now. But I have a question for Amanda or Eric or both. If I'm not mistaken, in a meeting in the past couple of months, I think Eric said something about sales tax, and I've been ruminating on that. And I think, why is sales tax down? Why is sales tax down? It couldn't be, because we're such a wealthy county and we have, $50 billion worth of a taxable base and so on. And then I realized I do almost all my shopping online, and I ask, and I believe I'm correct, that there's no sales tax coming to the county when I shop online. So am I correct that you said that sales tax is down and you forecast it to continue to be down, or did I just make that up?
It's been more flat. It's been the trend line.
Flat.
We're up a little bit over last year. The last few months have actually been pretty good, but the trend line has been flat. We had a couple of good years, 21, 22, where it was 10, 12, 14%, but it's really flattened out since then.
And what's the ramification to the county with a flat sales tax?
We're not able to sort of keep pace with inflation. If the same number of dollars are coming in and costs are going up, it makes budgeting more difficult.
I just don't think that's something we ever think about as residents. I don't think we ever think about that. I don't know that we'll stop shopping online, but
Is it true, Eric, that the county doesn't get online sales tax? Because I know we collect sales tax from companies that have a nexus in our state, so it's not like nobody gets sales tax. Does that trickle down to, I bought it here online, so therefore New Hanover County gets it?
I should look into that. My understanding has been that the state collects the sales tax and allocates it to the counties that it does get allocated to the counties, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah. Amazon does.
Wouldn't it seem logical that we're all shopping a little bit more this year than we were last year?
Sure, but I think we're getting that revenue, but
Well, then I would ask the county, why is it flat? What is your expert opinion of why it's flat?
So we're seeing it across the state, and we are actually faring a little bit better than some of the bigger counties. I know when I talked to some of the budget officers, like in Wake and some other ones, they're actually decreasing. They are having to cut their budgets because sales tax is not coming in. So it's really based on sort of your tourism, your industry, what economy you have in your little niche section of the state. And the other thing I would say is people are buying more online, but people tend, especially right now, are buying stuff. Whereas if you buy experiences, so you go out to a nice dinner, you park on the street, you go to a movie and everything, all of that sales tax is more local and stuff, and you're also supporting the businesses and beep holes and other revenues. Whereas if I just buy even a sofa online, I'm getting the stuff and I'm getting one tax. When people are out buying experiences and doing things, that's what leads to the more growth economy, what you're going to see more in sales tax coming back to you. So it's those economies that have the experiences and the stuff you tend to see them do a little bit better on sales tax than places that are a little bit more flat on the experiences.
Sat through a presentation by Dr. Machine Gatabi from UNCW. Outside of Hanover County. And so that's, the technical term is called leakage. And so the money that's earned here is spent in an adjacent county. And so the percent live outside of New Hanover County. And so one of the studies he did while the bridge was down for renovation was that he saw Brunswick County brewery sales spiked because they realized they had breweries in their own hometown. They didn't have to come across the river. And so I didn't want to have an alcohol discussion, but it's just a good example. And I'll mention just one industry stat that he noted was that in the industry of finance, for every 100 jobs that are created in New Hanover County, 75 of them come from outside of New Hanover County. So the workers are moving to town. And I think what was the statistic? He said since 2020, we've added 50,000 jobs in our Tri-County area, but we've only built 30,000 houses. And so housing is always going to be a discussion when you're talking about trying to hire people. And no, period, housing, period. Yeah. We were at a home builder presentation with Dr. Machine Gatabi last quarter, and a small business owner stood up, and it was like the light bulb just went off. No wonder my employees keep asking me for more money. They can't afford to live here. And so it's become the business community is starting to see this. And so it's going to be more difficult for you to compete for employees, unfortunately. But if we're going to have a discussion about sales tax in New Hanover County, I think it's important to understand that more than half of our employees in New Hanover County don't live in New Hanover County. So they're taking that dollar they earn here and spending it in a nearby.
We're going to understand the finances that we have to deal with and draw from. We need to understand that. Thank you for sharing that.
They're
That's
probably not
eye-opening.
taking all of that dollar, and there are people who live here and work there. I mean, there's a lot of dynamics to all of that, and it's unfortunate that we have to think about whether it's education or affordable housing or childcare, or I could keep going on down the list inside county lines, because our economy is regional.
Yep.
But we have to.
It's the Costco effect, right?
Right.
As long as Pender County doesn't build a Costco, we're good. I mean,
John, the flip side of this too, we hear it at the county level, when you go outside of New Hanover County or Pender or Brunswick, is that the complaint in other counties is that their citizens work 50 weeks a year, and then on 2 weeks out of the year, they come down here to Wrightsville Beach, Carolina Beach, and they spend all their discretionary money. And the continuation of that thought is, that's why we think you should give us some of your sales tax. I'm not making that up. That's a discussion happening up at the legislature. And we say, no, it's, the investments
Just
we've
say no,
made.
sir.
The investments we've made is what attracts people. Why don't you try investing in your county and maybe we'll come to you? But anyway, I'm just telling you, that's the other side of it. There's a lot of resentment that's, from around the state. Why is New Hanover County, the golden child for, they get everything for free there? I mean, I'm exaggerating, but I'm just saying there's another side of it.
All right, well, with that, let's see.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Before we end? I just want to parlay on Rob's comments. Most people that are moving to Brunswick or Pender because of cost of living are not coming to vacation at Wrightsville Beach or Carolina Beach. There's Surf City that's growing, Oak Island that's growing, Holden Beach. So, I think there's Raleigh and Charlotte people coming here. Maybe they drive down for the day to enjoy a different scenery. And I mean, I go to Burgal sometimes to do that. But I disagree with their coming and taking their week or 2 weeks off to vacation when they don't have money to live here. Sorry, Rob, you and I always like to banter. That's just my 2 cents, sorry.
Well, it is notable the number of New Hanover County that go to higher elevations for their vacations. It is quite notable. So, Dr. Barnes, bring us up to date with where we are by the minute with our financial picture.
So, first off, we talked about building stronger relationships with the county commissioners, with the chamber. The best way to do that is to give everybody a common enemy. So, let's do that for a second. But first, I know that the question comes up of how careful are we being with our funding? So I wanted to share with you a little bit just about the fabric of this in the state. Guilford County announced that they are going to begin closing schools in an effort to consolidate because their funding streams are not sufficient for their students. Winston-Salem, and I may have mentioned this in this group before, Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools is facing a $50 million budget deficit from last year. They have cut hundreds of people from their staff, and they are still in a deficit that they cannot figure out how to pay for. Wake County, they cut $18 million out of their budget, and they asked their county commissioners for $40 million. Durham County asked for $16 million, and now they're facing a $6 million deficit. The Education Law Center every year does a footprint for each state. And North Carolina ranks 48th out of 51 states in the nation for funding level. The average per pupil funding from the state is $11,777. Ours is, when you put everyone's money together, $11,777 per kid, state average. The national average is $16,645 for every single kid we have. And if you want to go ahead and do that math, just to bring us, someone do that, pick up your calculator. We have 24,500 students. Multiply that by 4,868. That's the difference between the North Carolina funding and the national average. How much money is that?
$119,266,000.
Don't worry about the bond, I got it covered. If we were making the national average, it would significantly change that narrative. And I'm not going to say the state is the issue, but to some extent, what it forces districts and county commissioners to do is to play chicken with each other. Because I had to come to you and say, don't you care about kids? Because you're the only people I can prove do. So this is not simply a problem that we're experiencing in New Hanover. This is a problem, okay? It's a nationwide problem, but it also has to be coupled with what you said, John, which is the fabric of the nation is changing. What you said, Natalie, there's less workers. The education enrollment is on a decline. Our job is to not decline here, because that is the safest way to ensure funding. So, I was all hot and ready about a week ago. I called Mr. Coudray and said, I'm coming. I need the money, and I'm coming for you.
We're going with it.
You know, and I said I really wanted to go back and ask you guys for a graduated step down for the pre-K classroom, number of pre-K classrooms, simply because a rapid change of altitude drops out the oxygen masks, and that's a lot to sort of reconcile all at once. But I took a minute and sat back and really did some looking at things. The federal funding currently has been promised to have been released. The Title II, III, and IV, that's $1.6 million we were sort of not given. That money has been delivered to the states. It has not been delivered to us yet. So I was kind of like, okay, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I said, I'll wait till I see that money first. But we are expecting that money is going to come back. Whether we like it or whether we don't like it, the state approved a mini budget that the Governor Stein did sign today. The mini budget approved for a 1%, or what was basically called a step increase for all staff, which would be less than we budgeted for. Now, we can't just go rogue and say we're going to pay our people blah, because we have to follow some of these state structures. But it does mean that some of the things that we were worried about passing may or may not have passed in the same way that we expected it. We anticipated a 3%. Do I think our teachers and staff and bus drivers deserve 3%? You bet. Will I say that 1% almost seems a little bit like an insult? Well, I may not go that far, but I don't want, I said it on Tuesday night, and thankfully that got in the paper, which I don't know why they quote me in this regard. It's important to mow my own lawn before I complain about what my neighbor's yard looks like. Before I go back to the county and say I need more funding, I need to be 100% sure that I've looked through every pocket of my laundry for change and turned over every rock before I say we don't have money. Now, that's balanced against, I have people to answer to too, and it's the community that we serve. And they are concerned about the level of number of adults and eyes on kids in buildings. So I don't want to say wait and see, but I think until the state budget gets signed, until all these things shake all the way out, I want to come back to you when I know that I'm out, when I'm tapped out, not when I think I might be. Because I want to be fair to you folks too, because quite frankly, the nurse thing is a hit. It's a significant hit. I can dance and bob and weave around pre-K a little bit. I can figure out the stipend and the supplements. But nursing, because they don't come from us, is a hit. But I also know that a year from now, we're going to be coming, folks, with a bond that we know our kids need and deserve. And I just don't want to, I need to make sure that we've been fiscally responsible before I ask for other people for that funding. We have moved a pre-K classroom. We had a pre-K that did not have students in it at Wrightsboro. Howe has a waiting list for 4-year-olds. We can maximize more students and more funding if we move that empty classroom to Howe. So you guys have that in email right now, by the way. You see it. So there are things that we can try to do to make this fiscally responsible on our own. If I don't feel like we can do the best thing for children or that we cannot keep children safe, then you realize that that's going to be something we're going to come back and talk about. But I don't think we can say that yet without budgets that are signed and approved. So
Can I ask you to put a pin in it? And
Can I just ask one follow-up, Dr. Barnes? What's the timeline look like for that for you? I mean,
for the state passing a
for the
budget?
mowing the grass and the change and all that stuff, yeah. I'm just curious, because budget talks for next year will start.
When will we know more?
For next year, yeah. Okay.
When will we know more? Is that what you're asking?
Right, yeah, that's what I'm asking.
I'll kick that one over to Ashley.
So I just want to add a couple of things, and then if I can circle back. So the governor did sign that House bill, I think it was 125, which is the mini budget, yesterday afternoon. So that, unless they come back with something else, that is the state budget. I don't know that so we're planning to move forward assuming that is the state budget. 1%, right, versus our conservative 3% estimate on raises, right? So I just don't want everybody to think there's all this money, so let me just keep going.
God, I hope I didn't give that impression.
State, I just want to make sure. So the state reduced us for our local supplement support because our tax, assessed tax values, now that threshold is beyond. So we don't qualify, we're not eligible for that funding anymore, so that was a little over $2 million.
Yeah,
So
we're at $50.7 billion in our taxable, including the personal property.
Our assessed tax value.
So we're running numbers now on the budget side, but we've been talking, and I think we're going to be pretty close. At 2% that we had put aside for salaries, I think now we'll hopefully be able to use that for the supplements, because that, we were also hoping to talk to the county that maybe the county in the state budget would increase that threshold, because that was a threshold from the prior year, but that was not included in the state mini budget. So I do not anticipate we would get that support as we have in the past. So that's where so I just want to make sure you guys know we do have a plan for that 2%. And then circling back to your question, was that about next year's budget or was that this year's budget?
Dr. Barnes is saying he's going to, after all these decisions get made, know exactly where you're going to be in order to know if you need to come back to the county. I was just wondering what a timeline looked, is that this year? Before the end of this fiscal year, not fiscal year? Would it be, I don't know.
Well, some of that, I'm waiting in line before they approve the budget, right? So like the state wanders their budget somewhere between July and October, like, so we don't know. I think that we've got to, the other factor that I don't think we can measure is that until we get to the 10th day.
Right, okay.
Because one of the other things we budgeted for is to have blank number of kids. If we have more kids than we projected for.
Explain what 10th day means.
Okay, sorry. The state measures our enrollment after the 10th day of school because kids filter in the first week or so. So next year's funding level from the state will be based on our 10th day enrollment, correct? No, our PMR best one of two, which is basically month 1 and month 2 enrollment. But be that as it may, just work with me here. So once we get to our 10th day, if we have 100 more kids than we expect, then that's money that we can then utilize and spread around. So it may not be, we may be able to hoist this freight ourselves without going back to the county. But you should know within the next 3 months if I feel like, because it's also got to be, we get to October, November, we've run some payrolls, we know what we're looking like. Okay, let's map this out all the way to June. Do we make it? Because honestly, last year, we were able to scrimp and save $1 million that we put back out into schools. And poor Ashley heard that from me today. I want to find that money again, that we can, be careful and save and not travel and do, what else can we do? But we just don't know that until we get our enrollment finalized. So, but my thing is, I will talk to the board, I will talk to Chris and you folks. I'm not gonna pop up at a meeting one time with a bill.
So Dr. Barnes, the 10th day, this current school year will be the day after our next meeting, is that right?
No, because we have like 11 different calendars. The 10th day is sometime after Labor Day.
Okay, so traditional school starts back on the 18th, though, right?
No, traditional school starts back on the 26th.
Okay, what starts back on the 18th?
Hang on.
C-Tech and WEX?
Okay, teachers,
Yeah.
Oh, teachers come back, yeah.
Yes, Ms. Barnhart.
In preparation, a couple of things. I think this board has been advocating for a lot of things that was brought up in this room at the state level, and so I hope that you can join our advocacy. I know many members from this group took a trip to Raleigh. I've been up there numerous times. We have a legislative agenda because we understand that we want to advocate for change. So this is not coming to you with a one-time fix, but as along the lines of bond and capacity needs, I know this is what we're prepping for this next meeting. Looking at the capacity and safety up to date is very important to me and make sure that these individuals have the information. But in addition, I would like to offer, how often can we share the capacity of our current facilities with both our county and our city leaders? Because what I'm seeing the trend is we're kind of maintaining, and like you have said, and I want to encourage that if students are coming back to our schools to get that funding and sort. But what I have seen just from mom life in our community is an explosion of growth in certain areas of the county and not so much. And so in addition to trying to find the best management possible for our students, we're seeing difficulty in some areas to even house the students that we have, and other areas not. And so the conversation of obviously redistricting will happen with a bond. But I don't think it's smart to do it and then a year later potentially to do it again. And so if there's a way to send to our partners at the county level and at the city level the consistent capacities of our schools more often than we're currently doing, they need to know this while they are addressed with the potential of rezoning for different needs. And I'm saying both at the county level and the city level. And so I don't know if there's a way that we can do that on a monthly basis, but they need to see the most accurate, up-to-date numbers of the capacity of our students and of our buildings, because while these decisions are being made and we will serve the students the best of our abilities, but there are some schools that it's extremely difficult for spacing-wise to maintain them, and if they are zoned in our district, we are required to serve them. And so I think we need to open that pipeline of communication a little bit more as we go and navigate this together.
Can I just respond to that just quickly? I think we see that information certainly on a monthly, if not every 2 weeks, at every commissioner meeting when we have whenever we have a land use issue, like a conditional zoning or a special use permit, one of the pieces of information they give us is school capacity wherever in the county that land use issue or that rezoning is happening. Now, whether it's the most up-to-date,
That's what I'm concerned about.
well, then impossible. We consider, school capacity as a critical infrastructure. It's an issue that I know that I've brought up, and Commissioner Walker, in our, deliberation on rezonings. So if it's not up to date, I hope that we can make it up to date.
I think it's up to date. I just don't think maybe we, as board members, have as much access as we want to it, but we'd certainly ask to
If
have that.
I'm mistaken, I
figured
thought it
out.
was we were sending on an annual basis, and I'm saying that I think maybe we need to reevaluate how often we're able to update those versus an annual basis.
We can do that, but capacity doesn't change monthly. Our enrollments may change monthly, and based on what our projected enrollments are going to be for the upcoming year, those capacities may change. But, as far as, I can't speak for the city, and that's something I can look into in terms of how often we share that with them, but I know, I wasn't here last year in this role, but I know Rebecca Roth, and we've talked, she receives that information on a regular basis, and it's something we can talk about. If the county would like to see it more often, we can. But I also worry about the idea of inundating you with information that hasn't changed drastically. Enrollment figures, typically, and I'll just speak from experience at the high school level, at the beginning of the year, the enrollments fluctuate, but it's not fluctuating 200 kids, right? It's a 10 here, 15 there over a span of a few months. Would you agree with that, Mr. Sutton? Sure.
Yeah, and maybe we can get you to include it in our updates when we get those weekly from the superintendent. We're about to run out of time, but I just want to point out, I have a snack here. It has pretzels and it has peanuts. I have never asked him or her if she had a peanut allergy. But if our students, parents pack this snack and their school doesn't have a school nurse, we have a problem. I just want to point out that one little fact. School nurses are still a burning issue for us. Take it away, Dr.
I would agree.
I would say I don't think
Completely.
the commissioners in this room understand that fully, so.
Just,
We have certain students that have to have in their IP or the medical
Safety plan.
safety plan, that they have to have a school nurse on. So even just saying, well, you can't move the nurse here, there, yeah. I mean, there's just like that. What that student has to do is that's another problem.
Miss Bradford allergy.
So many of the issues that we're talking about here relate back to what is the other side of the argument to us when it comes to funding, is we're meeting the state standards, or we're meeting the state minimum.
and they're out of date.
Right. So I think the focus of the
When those
school
were set,
board
people didn't have peanut
and
allergy.
this committee could be talking to our state representatives and saying these minimums are out of date. But that's what we hear back during the budget negotiations is, oh, we're just going to default to the state minimums. And we say, as both Commissioner Walker and myself, until we're blue in the face, those are not enough. And certainly not enough for New Hanover County, where we have the ability to get a nurse in every school. How did we end up here?
Okay, Dr. Barnes, take it, close this out.
I want to make sure you guys understand that we do have some availability to sort of move things around. Do I think we need 50 more positions in schools where they can support kids? Yes. But if I get that, if we achieve that through our endowment request, that maybe takes the pedal off the gas a little bit with the county. I mean, there is some shifting around that can happen. If we find ways to make pre-K more viable financially on its own, then we can redirect that Title I carryover money that we have earmarked to support pre-K and put it back into our other Title I schools. So there is some movement that can happen, and more than anybody I've ever met, Ashley's good about maneuvering those things around to make them fit in the best way possible. That's the other reason not to go back to the county, because I don't have, you know, my back's against the wall, but it's not pushed against the wall yet, okay? And I think that that's where my dialogue, and remember, Paul and Kim and Phil, last year, we sat down at a principal meeting. We talked about budget for a long time, and they gave me 25 things that they needed. And that was easy. The hard part was I said, okay, now rank them. And that conversation was a whole lot harder. But at the same time, there's the people in this room who struggle with, I shouldn't be trying to figure out whether I need a social worker or a nurse, if I know I need both. But I have to be realistic to the world we live in, the population, the funding, and all those other things too. So anyway, that was all to say, we're meeting with the endowment again today. We've already put in our application. Go endowment.
Yeah. All right, so we already have a date set for our next meeting. So I would ask you to look forward into September and tell me, yes, sir?
I just want to make it a point for everybody to know, the next meeting is scheduled for August 27th, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the second day of school for our traditional calendars. Principals are very busy during that time, so we might have to have some flexibility with whether or not they're able to attend. Just note that the second day of school is, there's a lot going on those days. Kind of like the first day, only it's the second.
We did not take that into consideration, but with a group this large, I'm always loath to move a meeting.
And I think it's okay, and if they're able to, we have a virtual option for them to attend to, I think.
And yeah, that might be the best way at. But if you guys look at September, if we could look at that, if we're meeting on it's the 27th, right? I have it messed up. It's a Wednesday, so it's an off day for us. But that September meeting is going to be pretty important too, because we would, you know, I'm looking to see, you know, the scope, at least in a concept, not completely drafted, but in September, we need to have the scope and project costs. Does 18th work of September for everybody, Thursday the 18th? Ashley says no?
Well, I just wanted to ask Eric a question because I was thinking that the priority list needed to go to our board for approval before it went to you guys. And I was thinking that was what we were trying to get done by October. So I just wanted to make sure if we bring it back to this group and have another discussion, if we bring it back to this group in September, so if we talk about the 27th and then come back in September and talk again, does it still need to go to our board for approval before we can kind of send you that list so you know?
Again, the October 31st is not a hard and fast date. We've got a little bit of flexibility there.
Okay.
The more definitive that list is, as close to that date as possible, that gives us more time to develop what the costs are associated with it.
Right.
By January 31st, we've got to have the list of projects and the dollar amounts associated with them. And that's sort of the deadline that doesn't move. We got a little bit of flexibility in between.
It needs to go to our board, and our board needs to approve before it goes to you guys, right?
that's
I mean,
right.
I think that's the way.
I would think, yeah, this being, then we present to the board, and then we bring it to them.
And our board can be like all boards of wild card. So we need that flex time. So how do you feel about the 18th, Ashley?
Yes, that's good.
Anybody else had a big concern with the 18th? And pencil it in, please. Yes. Pencil it in.
Principals, just as an aside, your building comes first.
Yes.
We appreciate you guys being here. This is valuable to have your input, but kids come first.
Yeah.
May I ask a timing clarification question? So, don't we already have the cost of all of the facilities that I feel like we got that early on in this process.
Yeah, I mean, I have some of that here.
And if
I don't
so,
think that's a
Rob-
heavy lift. I think it just has to be, have some polish maybe, right, Rob?
Because I guess when we talk about what happens and when we have to get it to the county, I certainly want to give the county staff all of the time that they need so that it will be the best list as possible. And I just wonder if we're not closer than October 31st requires. But I'll leave that between y'all.
I mean, I think we may be answering your question.
Okay. If we're done, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Did we get our ranking that we did last time?
He's not giving them back